Hi there, John Moore here, and I am a shamanic teacher. I teach shamanism. I practice shamanism. I write a lot about shamanism. I do a lot with shamanism. Shamanism's my life. What can I say? And today I'm going to talk to you about shamanism and magic. And are shamans practicing magic? Is shamanism a form of magic? Is it magical practice? What have you? So I'm going to begin. I always like to start by kind of defining terms a little bit, and I have a whole video about what is shamanism, and I'll link to that. I think it's up here somewhere. I don't know. I'll link to that, and so if you really want to know more about what shamanism is and what do shamanic people do, you can click on that and see that. So I won't spend time defining shamanism here, but I'll talk about magic. Now, of course, I'm not talking about stage magic, right? Which is watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat, watch me make cards disappear. And don't get me wrong, I love that stuff. I grew up watching David Copperfield and Doug Henning and Penn and Teller and all of these people, and I love to watch stage magic. And they're but that is obviously meant to portray magical effects. But what I'm talking about is what we would think of as like real magic or sorcery or what have you. So let's get a working definition of that. So back in the day, many years ago, many decades ago, perhaps a century or more ago, Aleister Crowley came up with a definition of magic which has been very popular, as infamous as he was and as not a nice person as he was, but his definition of magic was causing change in accordance with will. Change to what? And if I use my will to pick up my cell phone, is that magic? Because that sort of makes everything we do that influences the universe magical. I find that to be a little bit of too broad a definition. So I like to narrow this down. So my definition of what is considered magic is using non-ordinary means, non-physical means, to influence reality. Okay? Not all magic causes immediate change, so that's a problem. And then I'm talking about non-ordinary, non-physical means. So I might say something to you, and that you have an idea in your head, and then you do something. Is that really within the definition of magic? Probably not, because that's an ordinary thing. That's happening in ordinary reality. But if I were to work a spell or something, and that caused you to do something without me telling you to do it, that would be magical. It would be non-ordinary and non-physical. So that's my working definition of magic. And that being said, there are a lot of activities that fall into the space of fall into that. That fall into under that definition of magic. So first of all, there's everything we consider witchcraft. There's also everything we consider prayer. When you're praying to deity, and it's not simply, it's not simply an act of reverence, but we're praying for something or praying for change. You're trying to use non-ordinary, non-physical means to influence reality, to cause change, to cause something to happen, or to influence it in a certain direction. If you have birthday candles on a cake and you sing happy birthday and then make a wish and blow the candles out, hate to tell you, but you're practicing magic. Well, I don't hate to tell you, but many people might be very shocked to think of it in that way. When you make a wish and throw a coin in a fountain, or any of those things are sort of indiscreet magical acts. So let's get to shamanism. So shamanism is, by definition, doing things in non-ordinary reality and trying to influence reality in non-ordinary reality. So by the very definition, these acts, shamanic ceremonies, are all magical. Shamans are trying to heal people through non-physical methods. They're trying to gather information, so divination, through through non-ordinary, non-physical methods. So if I go and I look in a field and I see buffalo grazing there, and I was part of a tribe that hunted buffalo many years ago, and I said, oh, there's buffalo over there, that is not a magical act. However, if I am in, if I'm in my if I'm in a cave or what have you, a lodge or a teepee or whatever, and I'm chanting, I might be taking some hallucinogenic substances or whatever, and I'm projecting my mind out and say, oh, okay, if we go east over this mountain pass, there are going to be buffalo grazing there, and that'd be a good place to hunt. Well, that's magical, right? I'm influencing reality by bringing information back through non-physical, non-ordinary means. So almost everything shamans do is magical. The shamanic archetype and the archetype of the magician are very close, right? Sometimes we think of magic as people, if you've spent time in the world of the occult or traditions like Golden Dawn or even Freemasonry or those kinds of things, you might think of ceremonial magic, like these big sort of productions with large groups of people. And that is a form, those are forms of magic. Those rituals that they conduct, those ceremonies that they conduct are forms of magic. But there's also a lot of magic that's done solo. There are lots of solitary practitioners of like witchcraft and Wicca, and there are lots of shamanic practitioners. So magical practice encompasses a lot of things. I would include prayer in that. That might feel offensive to some people, and I apologize if it is. It's not my intention to offend you. But honestly, if you are making a request of deity to cause, to influence some circumstances in your life, even if you're praying to deity to influence yourself. So for example, if I were addicted to cigarettes, addicted to tobacco, and I prayed for help within myself to stop smoking, that would be a magical act because I'm trying to influence reality. It's reality inside myself. It's an inner reality, but that is no less reality than your outer reality. So I am trying to cause change there. Shamans and many other magicians recognize multiple realities as well, right? So we have our inner world, their outer world, and then there are all of these spiritual worlds and spiritual realms. And I've done a video about what are the shamanic worlds, talking about upper world, middle world, and lower world. And those are realities, not just physical realities, but those are realities. So shamans work a lot in there to influence situations, but usually to get that to filter up into physical reality. And an example of that is healing. And shamanic healing, a shamanic person, shamanic practitioner works in journey, which means they're entering these non-ordinary realms to affect healing somehow, to do some sort of work with helping spirits there. It's a good indication that you're doing a magical act if you're wishing really hard, not just wishing, but if you're using anything like a talisman, like a lucky rabbit's foot, or you're carrying a crucifix around and you as a form of protection and prayer and supplication, or you're using you're chanting with beads or any of those things. So that's a good indication that you're performing a magical act. When you appeal to deity or a higher power or spirit or even your own higher self, which is a perfected spiritual aspect of ourselves, anytime you're sort of asking for help from spirit, that's a magical act. Anytime you do anything that is a ritualized behavior that's meant to that's meant to as a form of protection or a form of luck or that sort of thing. So if you're in Las Vegas, shooting dice and you blow on the dice before you throw them, that's a magical act. Or you get somebody else to blow on your dice before you throw them. That is a magical act. Whether or not it works, that's another story. We can talk about efficacy in another video. But there is, and I will talk about efficacy in another video, and I'll talk about the law of efficacy in spirit, and which is an important one. But lots of things that we may not think of as magical acts are indeed magical acts. I never, for most of my life, I never thought of blowing out candles on a birthday cake as a magical act, but it really is. You make a wish and you blow these candles out. It's a ritual. It's candle magic, in the same way that people in doing witchcraft practice candle magic, that sort of thing. If you're of the mind that magical practice is demonic or from the devil or what have you, I may not be able to change your mind about that. I mean, it might be a deeply held belief that you have. But I would say that Christianity, Judaism, Islam have no shortage of magicians and magical acts and all of those things. There's stories in the Bible. And yes, I know that the Bible says, suffer not a witch to live. And there's a lot of ways that has been interpreted, really horrible ways. Sometimes that has been interpreted in history. But there is no shortage of magic in any religion that I know of. Buddhism, Islam, Christianity, Judaism. There's always an esoteric side to all of these things. Yes, there is the exoteric side. You go to church, you sing the songs, you pray, you kneel, you do whatever. But then there's the esoteric stuff. And that exists in every single major and probably every single minor religion as well. So anyway, this has been a talk about magic and shamanism, and is shamanism magic? And the short of it is, yes, it is, absolutely. But then again, so is a whole lot of other stuff. I hope this has been informative. I hope you're happy and healthy. I will talk to you real soon.